This video was requested by Barani. I tried to gather as much information as I could about Miss Nightingale, which I'll present in this video, so I hope this can fulfill their request. So, one of the most baffling mysteries in this game is Miss Nightingale. Over the years, people have speculated about all kinds of things regarding her, ranging from her being only an unimportant NPC to her being Alice's possible hunter form in the future. Now, thanks to the newest Cryptic Notes lore, I think we've finally gotten some new clues that could shed some light on this mystery. So, we're gonna yap about it today. Let's go! One thing for sure about Miss Nightingale is that, as a character, she has existed since the game was still in development. Although her visualization came later, she had already been used as a mascot for the game since 2017, signing off maintenance updates in Weibo posts. Thus, it is safe to say that Miss Nightingale has been an important figure in the game since the very beginning, although her role at the time was limited to being an NPC. Throughout the game, she has continued to appear as an NPC. She shows up on several occasions, such as when you visit the Illusion Hall or when you log back into the game after being away for a long time. Now, even though she appears as an NPC, many fans have theorized that she has some kind of importance to the game's plot since long ago. Tracing through Reddit, I found that the earliest question I could find about Miss Nightingale's identity was posted in January 2019. If we use that as an approximate point when people started becoming curious about Miss Nightingale, then it's safe to assume that questions about who exactly she was had probably been circulating even earlier, or at least around that time. As more and more of the storyline was revealed, fans began theorizing that she might hold some important role in the overall story. Others began wondering if Miss Nightingale was actually Orpheus, or, more recently, either Mistress Deross or Miss Alice Deross. Now, in 2026, 8 years after that Reddit question was posted, a certain theory emerges. Miss Nightingale is actually Alice Deross, or inspired from her. To me, this theory is particularly interesting, and here's why. Initially just an NPC, fans now widely believe that Miss Nightingale actually represents Alice Deross. Of course, this theory didn't appear overnight. Not in a night, a month, or even a year. From what I found on Reddit and the IDV Discord server, people had already been wondering whether Miss Nightingale was more than just an NPC as early as 2021, during the early release of the Time of Reunion event. At the time, some fans theorized that Miss Nightingale might be the wife of Orpheus, who appears in his story. Others suggested that she was actually the adult version of Lady Truth from the Truth and Inference series. The theories were quite diverse back then, which is understandable, since there weren't many clues to work with. As more and more of the story was revealed, though, the idea that Miss Nightingale is connected to Alice became increasingly popular. Several hints seem to support this theory. For example, Alice is consistently associated with the nightingale bird. Orpheus even tells her that he is the bravest nightingale. There are also certain visual similarities, such as the cage in Miss Nightingale's outfit, which also appears in several parts of Alice's story. The Cryptic Notes, however, add another interesting development to this theory. The final boss of that game mode, which represents Alice in her lore, is portrayed as Miss Nightingale herself. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that Miss Nightingale is literally Alice. Instead, it could suggest that Miss Nightingale is a character inspired by Alice, or perhaps even a metaphorical representation of her. And to understand why this matters, let's first take a look at what exactly happened in Cryptic Notes. The story of the newest game mode, Cryptic Notes, actually focuses on several recreations of Orpheus's novels. The first season of this game mode lets us play through a novel titled A Bringer of Doom, which itself tells an alternate version of the Oletus Manor incident. Each monster in Cryptic Notes represents a character from this novel, and the final boss, named the Bringer of Doom, has a striking resemblance to Miss Nightingale. Halfway through the fight, her mask would fall off, revealing a face that looks remarkably similar to Alice Deross. In this particular novel, it is therefore safe to say that Miss Nightingale is technically the final boss, even though the character has a different name. And the fact that her revealed face looks so similar to Alice makes the theory that Miss Nightingale is based on Alice even more convincing. There's more to it, though. The final boss also has her own lore. Her lore pieces reveal that she was the daughter of the Winston family, much like Alice was the daughter of the Deross family. And in the first chapter of the novel, the final boss's story is also remarkably similar to Alice's story in the main storyline, even though chapters 2 and 3 start to differ. And so, putting all of these pieces together, it seems reasonable to assume that the final boss of Cryptic Notes, the one character who looks like Miss Nightingale, is a representation of Alice from the main story. However, there are still some other details about Miss Nightingale that we can't simply overlook. One thing that fans have often pointed out is that Miss Nightingale may also be inspired by Mistress Deross. Now, I know that with all the new revelations, this theory might seem pretty easy to debunk. Still, I don't think we should completely overlook this little detail just yet. Sometimes during the Times of Reunion event back in 2021, we first got to see what Alice's mother looked like. Among several things worth noticing, there's one particular detail that can't be missed: the feather ornament worn on her shoulder. This same feather ornament also appears in Miss Nightingale's design. Surely this theory has become less convincing now, especially after the newest clues have shed more light on the mystery. And I'm not sure if there are still people who believe that Miss Nightingale is based on Alice's mother, but I do think we shouldn't completely overlook the possibility that Mistress Deross was part of the inspiration behind Miss Nightingale. After all, even if Miss Nightingale is primarily based on Alice, that doesn't necessarily mean every element of her design has to come from Alice alone. Miss Nightingale is depicted as the final boss in the Cryptic Notes game mode. She becomes the enemy of the Survivor faction. This led to an even more interesting question. Does this confirm that Alice will receive a hunter form? Alice receiving a hunter form is an idea that has thrilled many fans, and that includes me, to be honest. This theory has been around for several years now, especially because Alice has often been associated with the Nightingale, leading many people to believe that Miss Nightingale could eventually become Alice's hunter form. Well, the Cryptic Notes lore certainly gives us more than enough hints to suggest that Miss Nightingale in the Cryptic Notes story is Alice, or at least a representation of Alice. Still, I personally think it doesn't give us enough evidence to say that Miss Nightingale will become Alice's hunter form. In other words, we can't outright say that Alice has been confirmed to receive a hunter form as Miss Nightingale based on Cryptic Notes alone. Again, the idea of Miss Nightingale being Alice Hunter form really thrilled me, and I would absolutely love for that to happen. Besides, Miss Nightingale in Cryptic Notes looks terrifying, and gameplay-wise, some of her abilities in that game mode could potentially be adapted into Identity V's regular PvP format. However, saying that these hints confirm Alice will receive a Hunter identity switch as Miss Nightingale would still be quite a stretch. The biggest problem is that the Miss Nightingale we see in Cryptic Notes is a character within Orpheus's novel, a bringer of doom. Meanwhile, as far as I understand, identity switches are something that happens to characters outside of the fictional works created by Orpheus. That's why, for now, I don't think we have enough evidence to connect the two directly. That doesn't mean Alice couldn't receive a hunter form in the future, though. It's entirely possible that Alice could eventually receive an identity switch that turns out to be connected to Miss Nightingale after all. Like, perhaps we'll eventually see moments where Orpheus hallucinates Alice as Miss Nightingale outside of the novel he created, which would certainly make the theory much stronger. Or perhaps, in a somewhat wild guess, Alice is actually still alive and has been guiding Detective Orpheus during his return to the manor. There are certainly many possibilities, which is quite normal. After all, we simply don't have enough clues yet to give a definitive answer. So, what can we actually conclude from the newest revelation about Miss Nightingale? Well, the Miss Nightingale character in the Cryptic Notes is named the Bringer of Doom, and her appearance and story strongly suggest that she represents Alice. She's a character in Orpheus' novel titled A Bringer of Doom. The novel itself was written by Orpheus and is based on the Alice Manor incident he experienced, although the events are portrayed differently. This is a major boost to the theory that Miss Nightingale is connected to Alice, but it is not confirmation that Alice will receive a hunter form as her. To confidently say that right, we will need more clues, and I sincerely hope the devs will give us in the future. Until then, I guess we'll just have to keep speculating. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.